live from Los Angeles.
Again, Atlanta out of timeouts. Brunson rattles in the second one. Knicks by 3. Hawks have to throw it down the lane. They're out of timeouts. 1.2 remaining. McCollum drives from half court. Oh, he backs it in. He backs it in. No, they wave it off. They wave it off. He didn't get it off in time.
I mean, if only it counted, right? But the Knicks, they're sure glad that it didn't. Was New York saved by the bell in Atlanta? Iman Shumpert, he says there's actually one New York play call that deserves a closer look. But it's not just orange and blue. Big Blue took over the big dance. Congratulations, of course, to Michigan. But with the tournament over, I think it's time to take a look at whose draft stock is on the way up. And Victor Wembanyama, he suffered an injury in the Spurs game. So we have the latest on that and how it could impact his 65-game eligibility. NBA Today starts right now. Wemby is where we begin our show today. Victor and the Spurs took on the Sixers last night and finished with 17 points, 3 blocks in his first 16 minutes of play. So everything, it seemed like it was going to be normal for the MVP candidate until about 11 minutes left in the second, right? That is when we're going to show it to you right here. Wemby, he collides with Paul George on this play. He goes to the locker room. He did not return with what the Spurs are calling a rib contusion. So the most plugged-in man in basketball, Shams Charania, is here with the latest. Shams, are the Spurs bracing for Victor to miss any sort of time here?
I'm told the Spurs are not anticipating this to be a major injury. He underwent x-rays last night on that rib, and x-rays for Victor Wembanyama returned negative, I'm told. And so he will be undergoing more testing later today. But there is hope and optimism that those tests will confirm what they felt last night was that the anticipation is nothing major.
Okay, so a bit of an exhale here, at least in terms of anything major for Victor and the Spurs. But, Tim, you cover this team incredibly closely, and sometimes you got to protect players from themselves, particularly because the Spurs aren't looking to win the regular season. They're looking for something bigger. So what is San Antonio weighing before he returns?
Well, listen, Wemby cares about the award, so it is a priority for the organization. He needs to play at least 20 minutes in one more game to be eligible for the awards. I will be shocked if he does not do that. He's going to hit that 65-game minimum. Now, they do have a little bit of a cushion here because they played in the NBA Cup final, which counts towards that. But, again, it's more of a day-to-day type injury, fortunately. I don't think they're going to have to put him out there when he's hurt. But he's going to hit the awards minimum.
All right. In San Antonio, we know if they are nothing but conservative in these sorts of cases, right? So they're not going to put a player out there that isn't ready to return, particularly someone as important as Victor Wembanyama. But you bring up the awards. It's impossible not to have these two things coincide. So Wemby, Luka Doncic, right? Only one game away from qualifying for award eligibility. These are some of the other notable players as we talk about that 65-game minimum that feels like it's coming up a lot. Nikola Jokic, he needs to play in 2 more games of the Nuggets' final 3 to be eligible. You got Kawhi Leonard, right? He needs to play in 3 of the Clippers' last 4 games here. So this is a conversation that is really heating up around the NBA. Our NBA champ, Iman Shumpert, beaming in for this conversation. Chef, I'm curious. It feels like every time a deserving, nearly qualified player goes down, we're talking about this 65-game minimum. It comes under scrutiny. Do you think it needs to change, though?
You know me. I'm not willing to bend or break rules like that. I grew up with my dad telling me if you can't do it, if you want to do it, you got to do it on your terms in your house. If you're going to be in this house, you got to do it this way. That's how a rule works. I think that if the NBA bends now, they'll have to keep bending forever, and then eventually you're going to have to scrap the rule. And I think the rule was in place for a certain reason.
Yeah.
In my book, you gotta stick hard with the rule. I know it's going to have every year things are going to change as far as people being on the borderline. Some people are going to have their argument and their case for it. But if you do that and you start bending over, then it's, after a while, you're going to have to scrap it.
Yeah, I'm with you, Shump. I don't think it's something that needs to bend, but it can shift. And we're all old school guys, want to see you guys play, want them to see healthy. But there should be a grace period, and it could be a minute restriction thing we talked about. If you do the math, you got to get 20 minutes per game, or at least 25 minutes. If you do that by 82, it's a little over 1,600 minutes. If you clock it at 17 or 1,800 minutes for guys to be qualified or eligible, I think that kind of changes or shifts the case to make it somewhat feasible for these guys, because a lot of these guys are very much playing a lot of minutes. LeBron James has played more minutes than Wemby, but he's ineligible.
But you think there needs to be some sort of shift?
Some type of shift to help make this, rule more feasible.
Well, and I crank it up to 2,000. That is a significant amount of minutes. But, you see that list. There is no world that you can tell me Cade Cunningham is not one of the top 15 most impactful players in the league this season. He's the primary reason the Detroit Pistons are the #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. I mean, and Edwards, like, nobody's wondering, is he, like, forget top 15. He's a top 10 player. Cade's probably a top 5 player. I get it. You wanted to get rid of load management.
Yeah,
that is
really the
important,
here.
right? And it has served that intent. But in cases like this, these are not load management issues. Cade Cunningham suffered a collapsed lung diving on the floor for a loose ball, and that's going to cost him All-NBA. That's not right. If there is a significant injury, I do feel like you should be able to qualify via minutes.
It was an issue, right? The resting healthy players for nationally televised games, the load management. It's something that needed to be addressed. And this rule has done that, right? It has done what it is intended to do in that sense. However, you're also then getting players who are almost there, who maybe by an arbitrary 1 or 2 games are so close. And the fallout of this is you're also having players who wouldn't necessarily qualify for All-NBA, then be in that conversation. And all of a sudden, teams are looking at their bill come max dollar time, and it's looking a little bit different. But the question is, are you hearing that the NBA, considering this has gotten loud, I think, in the last couple of weeks, Shams, are they willing to make any sort of changes to the rule?
Malika, you saw Adam Silver at the Board of Governors. He was pretty clear that he believes that the rule doesn't really need changing, that it's working. And I think the league office seems to share that sentiment. But then the NBPA comes out with a statement that they feel like this needs to be abolished. I will say that the NBPA, their leadership, they agreed to this rule. Some of the membership there did advocate for it, but that doesn't mean that, hey, we can't go back and amend it to tweak it, to figure out, is there a solution? Because like, Tim, you just said, Cade Cunningham, there's other examples. Luka Doncic leaving for 2 games for a birth of a child abroad. Anthony Edwards is another example. Victor Wembanyama, let's say Victor Wembanyama has to sit the next week to get ready for the playoffs. For example, like, we're really going to keep him away from All-NBA team. Is there I don't know what the solution is, but is there a solution, an asterisk, something that can allow the players, something to be amended that will allow guys like this to still have an equal opportunity?
Right.
That's what I think there will be maybe some more conversation about this summer, but I don't think we're going to see a groundbreaking change here.
Right, and that's the sense I'm getting. Go ahead, Sean.
I believe wholeheartedly that I have not heard anything better than what Danny said as far as the minutes being able to stack up and that being your case that you can make. I love that. Besides that, though, making it a qualifying factor, I think that when you implement a rule, you have to stick to it. Otherwise, people are going to walk all over it.
That's fair. And talking to agents this morning, I said, is this rule a net negative or a net positive? No one was willing to say that it was a net negative at this point. So there are things that it is doing as intended. All right, we're going to get to more of this later. This is going to be a loud conversation over the next week, but why don't we get some action, right? Look at the Eastern Conference. This race, it's as tight as it gets, 6 through 10. They're separated by only, 2 games? And we have 6 days remaining in the regular season. Well, the Hawks and Knicks, they played in what could be a playoff preview here, and this one was fun. Maybe the best game of the night. Under 7 minutes left in the third is where we pick it up here. Jalen Johnson driving to the paint, slamming it on OG Anunoby.
That's an All-NBA player.
Yeah, the Hawks bench, loving it. And then Brunson here kicks it out to Anunoby for 3, knocks it down. Nice shot to finish the quarter there. Let's go ahead to the fourth here. Under 4 minutes left to play here. Watch this little bounce pass to Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Tim, he has been such a big pickup for the Hawks.
Yeah, he's been huge. Should be most improved player. More than doubled his scoring average after being a really good role player.
And he had a game-high 36 points here in this game. So under 3 minutes left in the fourth. Here we go. Karl Anthony Towns. It's this action that's so lethal. Hands it off to Brunson. Shoots the 3. Nails it. And then under a minute left in the fourth, Brunson again gets to his spot. Attacks.
Defense, better offense.
Better bounce.
The Brunson burner is now lit. CJ McCollum gets the inbound pass. He's cooking at the right time. Here's the Hawks. They trail by 1. 1.2 seconds left. McCollum, he's got it going. He gets it to go. But as you can see, as fans are shocked, the ball, it's still on his fingertips, just as tight.
We gotta amend that. Can we amend that?
There's no amending that. The light's on.
The Hawks, they fall short. But, man, that highlight lives on in our minds. The New York Knicks, they get the win by 3. Let's take a look, though, at New York, right? Because Brunson scored 17 in the fourth. finally he's looking like himself again. It's the most in a fourth quarter this season. He outscored the Hawks as a team 14-13 in clutch time here. So, Shump, you know the Knicks better than most. We talk about playing your best basketball in April. So what is the best basketball? What is New York at its best?
I mean, right now, you're seeing flashes of it.
Okay.
I think that we've seen some things all year that have encouraged us. One thing being that even though they are up and down, they are still having a 50-win season. So there are positives. But when you look at the team that they put together and everything that they had to do to put this team together, you look at Mikal Bridges and say you need more. The fun thing about this is, as we look at it, the pistol action. We finally got to see at the end of a game Cat and Brunson playing off of each other, a two-man game. Pick your poison, who you want to do it to you. And when you get that at the end of the game, that's the promise that I like. That's what gets me going, saying, hey, we're going into these playoffs, and we kind of know now at the end of the game, are we going to get some Jalen Brunson Cat pinch post action? Are we going to get some pistol action on the sideline? And if we do get it and we get Jalen Brunson flying off that thing like a bat out of hell, who going to stop it?
Right. And Shump's like, and this is what I'm glad that I'm not in there. It's not going to be me. Hey, if that pistol action, if it is half as sharp as your suit today, Shump, is that a tuxedo
Good
lapel
tie.
on a blazer?
A good tie.
You know what?
Oh, man.
Minimum games you qualify. All NBA today, best dressed right here. Hey, coming up here on our show, Blue Cat cut down the net. Big Blue, that is. And suddenly, one NBA prospect is getting an out of this world comparison. You're going to need to see it to believe it. Congratulations to the champs, by the way. And yes, all right, we've talked about Giannis and the Bucks all season, but what's really going on behind the scenes? It may change how you see all of this. Shams has new reporting next. And we know how dangerous Steph Curry is with the ball in his hands, but he might be just as dangerous somehow without it. We're going to show you how. A Brit to capture its first national title since 1989. Let's revisit how it went down in Indianapolis here. I mean, Michigan really controlled for most of the game. David, let's pick it up early in the second half. Michigan up 5.
Big body. Take him to the post.
Gets this one to go. They got it done ugly in this game.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Lendeborg had 13 points. Michigan up 8 after the free throw here. And then Alex Caravan turns it over. So off in transition, the Wolves go. Gale Jr.
Watch your head.
Flushing it down for a little alley-oop, and look there, Dan Hurley's
nasty.
Says it all. New meme unlocked. It's already been in the group chat.
This was a great play.
Though, yeah, Jalen Mullins can shoot it. Braylon Mullins gets that one to go.
Fly-by reload.
He had 11.7 rebounds. UConn down 7. A little over 2 minutes left. Terrace Reed Jr. gets the steal.
Make something happen. Push the break.
When you're passing it to Solo Ball.
Not
he needs
that.
to be getting it done nice, though, right? That's what needs to be happening there. On the other end, Trey McKinney.
It's a dagger.
Dagger. Fans going crazy. Congratulations to Michigan. Hey, let's take a listen to Yaxel Lendeborg and UConn coach Dan Hurley after the game.
I definitely thought that we were going to win the championship. You know, the team was a really, really talented group. Everybody's super unselfish, so I definitely felt like, you know, the power of friendship could lead us to victory. And, I mean, it did today. You know, we pushed through so much. We all sacrificed a lot, minutes, points, fame, all of that, just to get to this moment. And I know everybody's super proud and super grateful to be a part of this group.
You know, this team provided the university, the fans, the staff, you know, one of the best seasons of basketball we've ever had, one of the best rides in March we've ever had. So, you know, we've won 6 national championships in UConn, so maybe this is like the 7th best season we've ever had in over a lot of years.
Yeah, it was a pretty good season, Coach. But Michigan, now the first Big Ten school to win the national championship since 2000. So it's a good day to be a Wolverine, and it is always a good day when our friend Myron Metcalf joins us. Myron, is it too soon to talk a little NBA draft? I feel like we got to get into it, because which champs, when you're looking at this roster, do you think have improved their draft stock the most during this title run?
Well, I think that conversation, Malika, starts with Adai Mara, the 7'3" center for Michigan. Listen, I think Wemby maybe has changed the perception of guys like that. They see how useful they can be. He can run the floor. He's an incredible passer. He averaged 2.6 blocks per game this season. And you saw him guard in space. So I think the versatility certainly could translate to the next level. And who wouldn't want a guy at 7'3" who can do all the things that he can do? But Morez Johnson, I think, also helped himself. A great two-way player. I thought he was the MVP of the national championship game. And I think he proved how good he might be able to be at the next level as well, especially defensively.
Well, certainly any player who's getting any sort of comparison to Victor Wembanyama is something that scouts everywhere, their ears are going to prick up. But now the attention, it fully shifts, right, to the NBA draft here, Myron. And there's a lot of collegiate players that we're looking at here in the lottery. Just looking at the latest mock draft, this is from our Jeremy Wu. You got Darren Peterson, AJ DeBanza, Cam Boozer, all in that top 3. A really loaded draft here. So now that the tournament is over, I want to bring Danny Green back into the conversation for this one. Is there a college player, DG, who you think stood out as this tournament as maybe the most NBA ready?
Unfortunately, my guy, Caleb Wilson, was not in the tournament.
Okay, all right.
So I can't go with the Carolina guy.
I thought you were going to go for it.
Keaton Wagler, I mean, I like what he was doing.
Yeah.
He's a very high IQ player. Reminds me a lot of Tyrese Halliburton. Obviously, a little bit smoother jumper, and a little bit more wiggle. Like, he can get to the basket, right to left cross. He's smart, he's patient, he takes his time, can knock down shots, really smooth, silky, and poised for a freshman. Like, he's done some things. I got a chance to watch him play live, and he shocked me. He really surprised me, and this tournament run for him was a good one. Took his team pretty far, and I think he could be a guy that can make some noise in the NBA draft.
Should we start calling it the Wagler wiggle? Since you're saying he's got a little
wiggle.
He got a little wiggle. And Myron, you've been locked in on college hoops all season long. Is there another player maybe that you think looks the most NBA ready, looks the part?
Yeah, I think Darius Acuff Jr. is the most intriguing prospect in the entire NBA draft. Made 44% of his threes, can get to the rim whenever he wants. I think he's a combination of some of the great point guards that Cal has coached throughout his career. We'll see how he measures in workouts, but I think he has all the tools to be a great point guard at the next level. We haven't seen many who are as skilled as Darius Acuff Jr.
Certainly when we talk about March, it is oftentimes guards that are raising their stock, and Darius Acuff Jr. has done exactly that. Myron, it's your time of year. You and I are going to be chatting a whole lot as we march towards the NBA draft. We really appreciate the time. Get some rest. This has been a busy, busy season for you. So the question of Giannis's future, it's hung over the Bucks all season long, and it sharpens today. So how exactly did we get here? Well, according to Shams, after the team fell to 9-13, that was December 1st, his agent, Giannis, reiterated the time has come to part ways, but the trade deadline, it came and went, and no trade happened. And all the while, Giannis is dealing with injuries, and that eventually caused the NBA to launch an investigation into the Bucks for shutting him down. By the way, in the background, Giannis is still eligible for a 4-year, $275 million contract extension on October 1st, or he could be traded. So Shams has an excellent piece. It's up right now on ESPN.com, and it really details in excruciating fashion in a lot of ways what the Bucks organization, Doc Rivers, Giannis, has been going through this entire year. So can you just walk us through some of the stories that I think tell a much bigger picture than we've seen before about this contentious standoff?
So, Malika, one source with the team told me this week and really summed it up. When your best player is 1 foot in, 1 foot out, you're just not going to win. That tension bleeds over to the environment of the team, the culture of the team, and most importantly, the levers and misalignment across the organization. You think about your ownership group, your management, your coaches, and your players. It bleeds into all of that. And one specific example where we saw that from the coach and the player dynamic was the most critical point in the Bucks calendar. That was the first week of March, Malika. And that's when the Bucks had a string of games where they had to win these games. It was make or break to make the play-in tournament, which they had sold to Giannis. We're going to get to the playoffs and make some noise. And on March 1, they lost in Chicago, a double-digit lead. It ended up being a blowout defeat. Then comes March 2. It was a game of a back-to-back against the Boston Celtics. Doc Rivers called for a team meeting that day. And the day of the game, this team meeting, my understanding is in that meeting, Doc Rivers implored his team, according to 6 people in the room, to look at my resume and, quote, Google me. I took teams to the playoffs and championship that weren't supposed to be there. I thought this was one of them. That was not well received internally. And that was just another example of the disconnect between player and coach. I'll give you another example.
Wait a second. Danny's laughing. I want to hear this.
It wasn't taken well? No. Wow. I couldn't believe that wasn't taken.
Have you ever had a coach say that? Look at my resume,
I've had some coaches say some things. And I was coached by Doc. I wouldn't say a lot surprised. Doc was very good at talking to the group. Not a lot surprised me when certain things happened. And I've been a part of organizations where superstars are 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Right.
You know, I've had the Kawhi situation. I've had Ben Simmons situation, even James Harden. It didn't get prolonged this far out or this long. I feel like Giannis should have been moved a long time ago.
Right.
But Doc, sometimes, again, I mean, there's a young group in here. I don't know.
That laugh was very knowing, but you see it in another example.
There was another example that also rubbed players the wrong way, but also was a big part of the second half of the season. March 21st, they had a game in Phoenix. There was a shoot-around that day. And my understanding is there was another team meeting, but this only had the veteran players in it, the coaches and the veteran players. So the Giannis of the world, the Bobby Portises, Kyle Kuzmas, Miles Turner, Taurean Prince, etc. And in that meeting, Doc Rivers, one by one, addresses each player, gives them feedback. Taurean Prince, Kyle Kuzma, gets to Miles Turner, and that's when multiple people in the room told me that Doc Rivers let Miles Turner know that he felt disappointed in Turner's play, that he expected more this season. And as the group started to exit the meeting was wrapping up, Giannis and Bobby were not addressed in that meeting. They're the two long-standing players on the Bucks. So as everyone's starting to move away, they both speak up. They both address the group. So Bobby Portis speaks up, but Giannis particularly, he's been at the focus of all of this.
Right.
In front of the coaches, in front of everyone. He stands to support Kyle Kuzma and Taurean Prince. And Miles Turner specifically telling him, listen, I let you down. It's my fault I wasn't healthy. I wasn't able to be there for you. I'm not disappointing you. It's on me. I should have been there for you and been available. And that, again, shows what the message was from the coach and what the message is from the star player, and clearly a disconnect internally there.
There's so much within what you just said. Is Iman Shumpert still there?
Shumpy's still around.
Yeah, there he is.
Here.
I'm curious what your reaction is to everything that we just heard Shams detail.
Honestly, I'm curious to how Shams knows all that information coming out of a locker room.
The best in the business right here.
I am shocked. But to hear that, I definitely agree with Shams that it's like when you hear that disconnect, if you're in that locker room, I can only imagine the uncertainty that you're dealing with as far as what's the plan for me individually, what's the plan for the team now, what's the plan for the coaching now that, you know, there's a disconnect with the team. There's just a lot of question marks that now can creep into your locker room, and I don't like that for them.
So what now, Shump? You've been on many NBA teams. You've been on teams competing for championships. You've been on teams that are struggling and would have been in the play-in range if that was something that was happening.
What now for Giannis?
Right now for Giannis.
Oh, Giannis, it's time to get some sunshine, brother. You were supposed to get it early on. You didn't want to be the bad guy. And this is what I started to come to the realization that, you know, I wanted Giannis. I wanted to see Giannis finally put on a Knicks jersey, and I wanted them to explore that. But seeing how all of this is happening on the, you know, the leaving the Milwaukee Bucks, and how this has been kind of a back and forth, and there's some tension there, I wouldn't want Giannis to go to New York anymore and, you know, bring any of that tension to the New York media. They're sharks. They're going to eat this up. And I think that would do again to a locker room what you don't want to see happen. So now, to get some fresh air, you want to get the media off your back, you want to get everybody off your back, go ahead and go play in Golden State with Steph. That's what I want to see now.
I don't think the media is going to be any light there. I mean, wherever he goes, he's going to bring the media with him.
It don't got to be light.
Yeah,
it don't got to be light. It's just Steph could save him.
For sure, maybe so. We don't know who can, but he definitely needs a new home. I do appreciate him stepping up for his guys. And Doc is, you know, Doc, like certain coaches are known to be players coaches. Doc is definitely a players coach, but more of like a superstar coach. So maybe he, like, wouldn't say angled or what's named towards certain guys and not gave Giannis some of the backlash or whatever it may be. But Giannis stepped in for those guys and said his piece. And, you know, sometimes that could rub superstars the wrong way. So, but in the sense of Giannis going to New York, I wouldn't mind seeing him in a New York Knicks jersey. I think he can handle the media there.
I mean, listen, another example of what you just said. So,
okay, Daddy.
Kyle Kuzma, Miles Turner, a couple other veterans, Doc Rivers, the Bucks organization basically saying, listen, like, ownership is not going to be happy, does not want you to sit with illegitimate injuries as this team is down the line here. We know where they're at. We know what they're playing for. The one player that didn't get that same edict is Giannis.
Right. So, Shump, you said you were impressed by just how much insight into this Shams has. I always am. So listen carefully as we tick off a couple of things here. One, do you, based on your reporting, believe that a breakup is inevitable with Giannis and the Bucks? And two, that investigation on whether or not he's going to play again this season, whether or not he's played his last game, what are you hearing there?
So let's start with the first part. Forget what I think. Everyone at the highest levels around the Bucks, you think about ownership on down, believes there's an inevitability to what this is and a trade this offseason based on where the Bucks are at with all this, based on where Giannis Antetokounmpo has clearly been at with this. The past, in a lot of ways, has set up the present. And in 2020 and in 2023, when Giannis signed his contract extensions, sources on both sides told me there was a gentleman's agreement, a promise of sorts, that if the time ever came that Giannis was ready for a trade, ownership and management would work collaboratively to assist that. And so you think about when these requests started last May, these around Giannis looked at unfulfilled promises. So fast forward to 2 weeks before the deadline, Giannis, his agent, meet with Jimmy Haslam and Wes Edens 2 weeks before the deadline and say, hey, we're ready, do right by Giannis. They do engage with teams. There's conversations that are had. There's one team and one offer that the Bucks seriously considered in the final hours at the NBA trade deadline. That's the Miami Heat. That's an offer around Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, other players, multiple first-round picks, multiple swaps. The Bucks obviously chose not to do that deal. My understanding is ownership believed there would be better for them in the offseason. It's best to wait on this decision until the summer. As I talked to teams that were involved in this at the deadline, like Minnesota and Golden State and Miami, etc., there were a dozen or so teams. They do believe those same comparable offers, if not better, slightly, will be there for the Bucks this offseason. So I'm not worried about that part of it if I'm Milwaukee. But Giannis will have 1 year left on his deal, and that does give him significant leverage in terms of how much a team is willing to give up if he's not ready and willing to extend.
Okay, and you said something very important there. This offseason is when your sources are saying this, not extending into next season, this offseason. Shump, last word on this, because you were making all sorts of faces over there in New York.
Because I was leaning in. I don't really have any more on the situation. I just know, Shams, when you go to sleep at night, lock that phone into the safe at your hotel. Make sure nobody gets a hold of it. I don't know how you know all that, brother.
Gentlemen's agreement here from me will make sure the phone is safe. All right, let's get to another former MVP, because what Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets did is something that we need to be paying attention to. They go in playing the Trailblazers, who are playing incredibly good basketball right now, winning 8 of their last 10, 6 of those by double digits, and it looked like that's where we were headed here for part of this game.
Yeah, they were shooting lights out. 25 threes, franchise record.
Yeah, Tumani hit 6 of those in the first half, his most for any half in his career, and he finished with 30 points, 8 threes. By the way, when you talk about a record, this is a franchise that had Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum at the same time, so that's saying something. But the Nuggets, they're professional winners at this point. Aaron Gordon for 3 in the corner, it's good.
He's a shooter now.
Denver up 2. He had 23 points in this game. And then Nikola Jokic, you don't see him miss this shot very often at point-blank range. But can't get the tip-in to go either. And so we get some more free basketball. So overtime we go.
Extra innings.
And this is Denver time, right? Jamal Murray drains the triple. He catches the
ball movement.
Nuggets up 6. Murray drives.
To the rim.
As Iman Shumpert would say, oh, I was going to do it. Hey! Murray had 20 points in this one. And then Jokic. I was going to say it's a quick step, but really, it was a really slow step.
It's the slow, long step, too, to get in the body.
35 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, 5 steals.
Video game numbers.
Denver gets the win here, but giving a lot of effort there.
Yes, they are exerting a lot of energy
to get these wins.
To win these games.
But maybe it's worth it because they have a 49% chance to be the number 3 seed. This is what ESPN Analytics says, a half-game lead over the Lakers for that spot. LA is next, right? They got 45%. And then hello, Houston at 6% here. So speaking of the Lakers, they got a tough task tonight, right? They faced the reigning champs across the street. They played last week. They lost by 43 points. And then to add insult to injury, or maybe injury to insult in this case, that was the game that Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves got hurt. So Dave McMenamin is covering the turbulence, the carnage of the Lakers. So let's just tick off the injuries here, Dave. We got Luka, he's out. Austin Reeves, he's out. Marcus Smart is also out, but LeBron is questionable. So is this a ho-hum 41-year-old questionable, or could he actually miss tonight's game?
Well, Malika, in the last couple minutes, he's officially been downgraded from questionable to out. So
right.
LeBron has been dealing with a left foot injury really for the last couple seasons. He had a big workload on Sunday, playing 39 minutes against Dallas, and tonight is the start of 3 games in 4 nights. If you're going to lose by 40 with LeBron in there against OKC, you might as well rest him now and figure that tonight's kind of a scheduled loss. Try to get the best effort from him in 2 winnable games against Golden State Thursday and the Phoenix Suns Friday. 2 games that will be crucial if the Lakers have any hope of getting back into that number 3 seed before the regular season's over.
All right, so 4 of their starters are out tonight. A scheduled loss. I like that phrase. But honestly, I'm not sure that I have an issue with what the Los Angeles Lakers are doing. This is survival mode for LA at this point. Dave, I would say they're moving and shaking. I will fact check that with Maria. So let's go coast to coast on an action-packed Tuesday that we got here. First up, how about the Buzz City Killers?
Kobe.
Boston, they're taking on the Celtics. The Hornets have won 4 straight. They're in a battle to get out of the play-in, though. Tim, do you think they can do it?
Yeah, I think they are the best team from 5 down in the Eastern Conference, and we've got 2+ months of evidence that would indicate that.
Well, I thought you said you didn't know anything about the waist down.
I didn't say I didn't know anything.
The 10th seed and Heat are in Toronto
Dancing.
taking on the Raptors. They're a half game ahead of Philly for the 6th seed. They play each other twice, though, this week. Danny, how important is it for your former team to avoid that play-in?
Very, very important. They need to get in the playoffs. They don't want to be in these one-game elimination type of games. And for my own personal reasons, I would love to be there to be able to experience it. Maybe I'll do a live podcast at some point, but I would love to see them in the playoffs.
All the plugs
Why
here,
not?
GG. All right.
There you go.
Tonight, we got the Rockets, who are streaking. They're in Phoenix, squaring off against the Suns. They are locked into the play-in with a loss and the Timberwolves win. Tim, are you surprised, though? The Suns, they're really making an identity here.
I stopped being surprised about the Suns a while ago. 2 months in, was I surprised? Absolutely. But this is a Phoenix team that has, as you said, created an identity. This is a tough, hard-playing, overachieving team. Ceiling's not that high, but they are a tough squad that has earned their spot.
I don't know how Dylan Brooks doesn't blink in those stare downs. All right, the Kings are in San Francisco, taking on Steph Curry, the play-in-bound Warriors. Steph, he returned to action on Sunday after that 27-game absence with that right knee issue. He came off the bench. He scored 29 points in only 26 minutes in that game. No one covers the Warriors more closely, though, than Steph Curry and Anthony Slater. I think I just called you Steph Curry. Slater joins us now. No one covers the Warriors more closely. Shoot or shoot. What's you going to say? Here's where I'm confused, though. Steph was on a minutes restriction, Slater, for the last game. He went over that minutes restriction. I don't think that's how restrictions work. So what's the plan for him tonight?
Look, if he's able to close out the game and they got to stretch it a couple minutes, Rick Celebrini will give the little nod, the green light. But, you know, from what I've heard, it's going to be around that again. 26, maybe stretched a little bit, which probably means he's coming off the bench again because they want him to close every quarter. And the good news for them is he came out of it feeling good, knee-wise, and he looked excellent, right? That looked like the All-NBA version of Steph Curry. The bad news is this is a very condensed timeline for them. They have 4 games in the next 6 nights. I expect him to sit one of the Thursday, Friday back-to-back, probably sit the Sacramento game on Friday. And they're trying to, you know, they have this do-or-die week next week in the play-in where they have to win 2 road games. He's played 8 total minutes with Kristaps Porzingis. Porzingis is questionable tonight. There's just not a lot of time to get his minutes up and his rhythm with this team back, but it's just kind of the hand they're dealt.
Right, it's sort of what they're going to have to do if they want to climb their way out of the play-in or through the play-in and into the playoffs. Slater, Curry, Anthony Slater, thank you so much for the time here on NBA Today. You mentioned, though, Steph Curry and his minutes. No matter how many minutes Steph plays, he's going to make things easier for his teammates, right? But you got to be ready. Just ask his new teammate, the big man, Charles Bassey.
To be honest, man, I was so wide open, man. You know, they were telling me that because after I got the dunk and they called the timeout, GP was telling me, yo, I know you didn't know you was going to be wide open. I was like, trust me, bro. I didn't know, bro.
There's a word for that. It's called gravity. So it's time now for Inside the Game. It's powered by AWS. And the numbers, they match the eye test here with Steph Curry. So let's look at those numbers that we're talking about here, because the league average for gravity is 0. I promise that's like not it's supposed to be a mind bend. But so if you have any pull, it's a positive. Steph being at 20.3, what that means is that his gravity is about 20% better than the league average. I'm not good at math, but I do know that this creates opportunities for teammates. Danny, how does he do that?
Yes, especially guys like Charles Bassey. Draymond Green, great player. But the reason why he's great, because of a guy like Steph Curry and his gravitational pull. Charles Bassey was a recipient of that last night. You see two guys going to the ball. Every time he comes off the DHO, two guys have to show crowd, which leaves Charles Bassey rolling to the basket for either a playmaking play or a dunk. He gets a wide open dunk. It's like, why am I so open? Another possession here. He's coming off a flare screen, gets a knockdown shot, misses it, but he's more dangerous after an offensive rebound or putback. So both guys try to find Steph Curry. They know that. So you got two guys watching him. Pods, wide open three, because everybody's worried about Steph getting open for another three from the offensive rebound. Situation again, he's setting screens. This is why he's so good at getting open. Two or three guys are on him, looking for shots, finding guys. And just when you think he's not doing anything is when he's wide open, because he's going to find a way to get to the ball. Two guys coming off the screen. Even when you're contested highly, Kevin Durant, 7 feet. It doesn't matter. He doesn't see anybody. It's a knockdown three. But his gravitational pull is like nobody unlike we've ever seen. And that's why Charles Bassey's wide open. Draymond Green's been so great. And his teammates get so many easy baskets.
And you know about it when he has the ball, but it's so fascinating how much gravity he has even when the ball is not in Steph's hands. Danny, thank you for showing us that. Again, down the stretch, the Warriors, they've got to find a way to get this done and play the best basketball at the right time.